Bonjour, bonjour, tout le monde. Madame, monsieur, bonsoir. You may be wondering why I haven't opened up the page to Lobotomy Corporation yet. And that's because in the pre-stream, I finished watching this amazing video, which I now must show to all of you, because if you are not aware, I am a I am an incredibly well, I am quite the huge fan of Alexander the Great. And so that's nice. I was rearranging OBS. Now it looks very nice. I'm a huge stan of Alexander the Great. I okay, embarrassing story time, but they say that Augustus Caesar cried at the feet of a statue of Alexander the Great, and of course Napoleon basically languished in the Egyptian room because he couldn't reach as far as that. He got stopped in Egypt, and so there was an Egyptian-themed room in his Isle of Exile at Elba, and he would spend his days in there, just like looking longingly at what he couldn't get because he never could get past Egypt like Alexander. And in truth, I kind of had a moment like this, as dumb as it is, I where I was just like, I was doing the grind for school before I started all this, and well, I was reading about Alexander again because I wanted to make a reference to him in an essay, and it just hit me like I will never achieve this pinnacle of greatness. No, it's even worse. I will never be as part of something as great as Alexander's army. And uh, well, yeah, some tears were brought to my eyes there. But they were, but I assure you, they were entirely justified. Uh, they were entirely justified, divine tears even. I'm wondering if I should just say manly tears to get it out of the way. But so we're gonna be watching the Alexandriad one, and maybe when the next one of these comes out, we'll watch it too. But I wanted to do that before we get into Lobotomy Corp because oh, I love this video already. Also, you may recognize some of the voices in this video. I've certainly recognized from other web series, so that's pretty cool. Oh wait, hold on. I didn't turn up the audio for this. Alright, we're starting it from the beginning. Do you feel this music in your bones? Come on, with me now. Next time it drops. Oh, it was too short. I wanted another headbang session. Now, if this isn't the most faithful yet most like comical, surreal, post-ironic faux medieval artwork, I don't know what.
Alexander, considered by many the greatest man to ever live. In his short life, his indomitable spirit would see Macedonian and Greek armies reach the very edge of the known world. In the ensuing wars of conquest he waged, he bent the very reality he lived in to his will. Alexander truly created a new world. The origins of Alexander were illustrious in of themselves. The direct descendant of Achilles, the son of the great Macedonian Greek king Philip II, and Olympias, daughter of a neighboring kingdom. Alexander would soon outshine all of these legacies. On the day he was born, Philip's general Parmenion won a great victory. Philip's horse won its race at the Olympic Games, and the Temple of Artemis, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, burned to the ground as the gods focused their energies into bringing Alexander into this world. When Alexander was 10 years old, his father had purchased a massive horse which was so wild that none of his men could tame it. Alexander, already demonstrating his genius, realized it was because the horse was afraid of its own shadow. He mounted the horse and tamed it himself, naming it Bucephalus. Witnessing this, Philip broke down in tears, kissing his son and saying, "My boy, you must find a kingdom big enough for your ambitions. Macedon is too small for you." Bucephalus' fear of his own shadow was created by the gods as a message to Alexander. It forced him to forever ride east, towards the rising sun and his death.
Towards Oceanus, the Eastern Sea, to cross the whole world. Ah, yes, I am also a big fan of Iskander from Fate as well. And bonjour, bonjour. Merci beaucoup, ma nouvelle doatrice, Fleur VT, and thank you for the hydrate. I need to go fill up my cup, so thanks for reminding me. Be right back. Alright, welcome back. Uh, oh, it's totally okay. That's how I've even raided into people where I was like, oh yeah, I totally know that person. I'm gonna raid them. And then I clicked the follow button quickly after I raided and I was like, whoops, hope they didn't notice. But anyways, before we jump into Lobotomy Corp, I am watching through the Alexandriad, a story of Alexander the Great.
Destiny. Growing up, Alexander was tutored by Aristotle himself, one of the greatest philosophical minds of all time.
I am also a huge Aristotle fan as well. Plato could not understand human emotion. Aristotle, on the other hand, I think that he is the one who truly laid the foundation for, well, philosophy as done by chats, not by intellectuals.
Furthermore, he was surrounded with the most promising men of the entire kingdom, among them Ptolemy, Ereos, Nearchus, and his BFF and loyal ally Hephaestion. These guys will be around a while, I can promise that. Meanwhile, Philip had reformed the Macedonian army into the most alpha fighting force in the world. Among his many brilliant innovations was the Macedonian phalanx formation, wielding gigantic spear called sarissas. This unit, though not very maneuverable, was unstoppable as long as its flanks were properly covered. By age 16, Alexander was commanding his father's armies, had defeated several rebellions, and had conquered new lands for Macedon.
Not even a fight animation, just
himself,
poof.
Alexandropolis would be the first of many. As the two heroes secured and expanded the frontiers of Macedon, they faced a massive coalition of Greek city-states at the decisive Battle of Chaeronea. In the melee, the 18-year-old Alexander commanded the elite companion cavalry for the first time. It was a massive slugfest, with neither side gaining an advantage, until Philip feigned a retreat and Alexander bravely launched his cavalry straight at the best soldiers of the opposing armies, a bunch of queers called the Sacred Band of Thieves. The elite of both armies met in a deadly and desperate melee. Through Alexander's personal courage and ambition, the Macedonians were able to overcome the spearmen, routing the enemy. Seeing their best soldiers slaughtered, the remainder of the coalition armies simply shat their pants and fled the field.
You're gonna see that a lot because, because Alexander has conqueror's hockey, and so everyone that goes up against him that isn't a high enough power level just turns tail and books it.
Subjugated, the other Greek states were subsumed into the Hellenic League. Philip intended to wield this powerful coalition in a glorious pan-Hellenic crusade against the barbarians of the Persian Achaemenid Empire. However, for every truly grand and visionary spirit, there are 100 weak-willed and reactionary men who fail to grasp a greater future, who are filled only with desire for the selfish comforts in life. Thus, Philip was slain by men afraid of the dawning of a new era, though Leonidas and Perdiccas would ensure they did not escape. But little did those traitors know an even greater dreamer would rise to take his place. The 20-year-old Alexander took the throne.
Dude, I went all in on a shit coop, and now my shit coop is crashing. We're all being executed. Dudes, I lost everything.
And immediately set out to unify the entire Greek world with his sheer force of personality. He started by executing everyone involved in the plot against his father and then some.
Off to the
Anyone
pink
whose
fields.
loyalty could be questioned was purged or killed. Next, he put down several revolts by opportunistic city-states, led by some retard orator that modern autists still worship for some reason, Demosthenes. But most of these armies capitulated upon the mere sight of Alexander, seeing with their own eyes his aura of divinity. Then, he further reformed the Macedonian army, finding the biggest-brained engineers he could. Alexander revolutionized siege warfare by vastly improving siege rams and towers, and creating the world's first torsion catapult. Even better, his engineers designed these weapons so that they could be easily deconstructed and carried with his army. Thus, for the first time in the history of warfare, an army did not have to build new siege weapons from scratch everywhere they went. He marched on. Alexander sought out the
Smarter,
famous
not
Cynic
harder.
philosopher Diogenes. For those of you who are not already faithful disciples of Diogenes, I'll explain. He was the first man to realize the truth, that civilization inevitably leads to degeneracy. Thus, Diogenes rejected the modern world before it was cool, and his followers would later create Stoicism. Diogenes would even jack off in public, just to assert his dominance over angry virgins.
This is true.
Wanting to do the old, legendary man a favor, Alexander exclaimed, "If I were not Alexander, I would want to be Diogenes." To which Diogenes replied, "If I were not Diogenes, I would also wish to be Diogenes."
On on Diogenes, I feel a lot of people these days have a misinterpretation of Diogenes, mostly stemmed from the funny social media, the funny YouTube video where Diogenes is just, oh, he shits in the streets and and doesn't even have a bowl. We are watching the Alexandra, and I am commentating over some parts of it. But currently, we're talking about Diogenes, and well, the vapid and self-obsessed people who speak of Diogenes in this way could not begin to comprehend what he was really getting at, which is that he realized essentially he was the first to recognize how attachment, at least in the West, very prevalently, how attachments to material and how material possessions oftentimes made you more unhappy as you put energy into them than you got back. And so rejected all that. It is fair. I think this characterization in the video is very fair. But he also tried to, but as he said, the philosopher who fought dogs for their food, he also tried to live a very natural life, rejecting most of the conveniences of society. Because again, we think of ourselves as a illuminated and enlightened society that's progressed so far, but we've in many ways worsened a lot of the problems that humans had innately solved in nature. We have so much lack of purpose, so much lack of direction, wasted energy, misdirected energy into the strangest and worst, most perverse outcomes. In a way, a man who accepts himself as the animal like Diogenes is has well he lives essentially a noble savage life, even if the only place he could do that was on the streets of Greece, because you can, of course, go out into the woods and expect not to be killed by barbarians and Stoics and people who followed in that line. And if you want parallels to Eastern philosophy, Taoism, and many Eastern philosophies also try to say live this naturalistic life of very little. And so this is something that many humans across history have come back to. I should also mention with Eastern philosophy, some Hindu traditions are very strong on this, on renunciation. I do see some. I do see some. It is certainly a way you can go and be very fulfilled by. I do see some certain problems with it when the this society is embraced on some great wider level where much suffering could be prevented if it were not if it was allowed to be a personal choice rather than I would say a societal choice. I think much of the Indian caste system suffers from this, where you're born into a caste and you're told to live this simple life, but that simple life might not be the right place for you. You might be destined for greater ambitions, or someone who's in a higher caste who's placed into those ambitions might far prefer a simpler life to just go to the small level. I can certainly relate to that very much. So I think it is something that should be a personal choice. Also, I'd love to talk about Aristotle too, while because it was brought up earlier in it. Alexander was tutored by Aristotle, and Plato, of course, Plato and Socrates, but we know Socrates through Plato. So Plato gets the real credit for being the founding of Greek philosophy, and well, he set the intellectual tradition, which has been the dominant one. That reason's the best thing, where we can be completely rational animals. We can make a rational, perfected society without problems. All attempts at democracy, at systems from democracy to fascism, have all been attempts at reaching Plato's Republic in many ways. And much of its political commentary is still salient. I do agree with Plato's idea that that society is degenerate, and that eventually it becomes a rule by mob, that we don't have trust in society. Everyone's out for themselves and their own little group. That is how periods of aspiration and desperation go. Though Aristotle, and specifically virtue ethics, and his recognition that humans need to be emotionally balanced to be successful, I think is far more valuable. And that is partly because I am a lover of the arts and of romantic things, but it's important to have catharsis. Stories and emotional relief, and it is far more important than living life by the books or by the brains, so to speak. It's it's about I would certainly say life is about having an adventure more than anything else, and I think virtue ethics too are ethics that make that feasible. Make that feasible. I would say. I have admiration for the old warrior ideals where soldiers are not made, but born, as are many other facets of society. Uh, those who will be the smiths who will seek to craft the best, or just love the art of crafting and making, those who will be the artists, those who will be the warriors. I think a lot of these are born, and I think we do have in many ways shared ideals across humanity about what these are meant to be, and that through looking at those, and this kind of gets into Jung, through looking at those archetypal ideals, we can learn what our soul really is calling out for. Though with virtue ethics, I think it's made possible in that rather than having these utilitarian ethics, or rule utilitarian ethics, or you know altruism or egoism or whatever, it's all around about your interactions with everybody else in society all the time. Is this the best for society? Is it the best for me? Is it the best for everybody else but me? Because I want to put on faux generosity, even if it'll make me miserable. Is like all these big things. These are so clouded. When you're making an ethical decision, I think what ultimately concerns you is you, those who are with you, and sometimes those who are against you. And it's perfectly fine to clash with someone. It's perfectly fine to clash with someone in the way that many people in the past would do. Uh, and they would see it as a mutual thing. We must compete to aspire or become uh, so that one of us can surpass the other, or our dreams are in conflict, and that's fine. It doesn't we to bear the burden of all society with every decision. I think breaks you. And ultimately, what you should be concerned with in every decision is the most direct people around you. And I think that gets you to focus on also the real things too. I hate to see when politics comes between people and their family, like they put bigger society before even those around them, those they most depend on, uh, as those who they must also most contend with. So and I think and if and though we live in an age of dead morality, I suggest if you're more interested in this to read After Virtue. It's a good discussion of how virtue ethics weren't refuted by Nietzsche and are actually very close to what he called master morality. Living by your own hands and becoming someone. So, yeah, I would say at the core of virtue ethics is a respect for yourself and others that isn't emphasized in other moral traditions that put weight on your decisions rather than who you are, what your grand quest in life is supposed to be. But I know I've been rambling for a while. Let's get back to seeing this awesome animation.
Around this time, Alexander visited the famous oracle Pythia, asking for a divination. She refused to even speak to Alexander. Remembering how the same oracle had disrespected his father some years ago, the god king walked into her chamber, dragged her out by the hair, kicking and screaming until she finally admitted the truth. Yelling, "You are invincible, my son," Alexander simply replied, "Now I have my answer." He then
Yeah.
moved to secure his northern frontier. In a lightning campaign, Alexander defeated the Thracians twice, crushed the Triballi, crossed the Danube by using freaking tents filled with hay to float across the river, obliterated the Getae, then floated back across to annihilate 2 Illyrian kingdoms at Pelion. Of course, some Greeks, led by Demosthenes.
I love how when you look at older armies, they really do make because you have to think about the logistics. How do we get to this place? How are we going to make our attack and stuff? Uh, with the modern military, it's so refined and standardized. But you look at old warfare and you get moments like, putting your torches on oxen to ambush the enemy, or filling tents with hay to float across a river, or in the case of yes, it was Julius Caesar that did this, conquering the Gauls by when he needed to come across a river, having the whole Roman army build a bridge across it so that they could go attack the people on the other side, and going back and disassembling the bridge as they went. If that like is the most freaking power move you could ever do, like if that like people don't realize that Rome was that powerful. You couldn't even imagine the U.S. Army doing something of that nature, like building a whole bridge in like record time like that. No, but they were just that much of a superpower. I mean, actually, that's a bad example, but I'm saying like the concept of it, like they just they had that much to spend on just intimidating the other side, on just the art of presentation. And so, well, I guess in many ways our stealth bombers are in some ways the analog to that. We are certainly one-upping each other with technology, but it would be nice if we could one-up each other with, say, bigger infrastructure projects than bigger bombs once in a while.
Took the opportunity Alexander's absence left to rebel yet again. But Alexander was not to be trifled with. Witnessing the rapid, unexpected approach of Alexander's returning army, most Greeks immediately prostrated themselves before him once more, all except for the Thebans, who were still butthurt over the loss of Chaeronea. But long ago, the Thebans had unwittingly taught Philip all their tricks while he was held in captivity.
Welcome, our guest of honor.
Ooh. Bonjour, bonjour, Jinjin MD. Thank you for the raid. I know that Elijah will certainly love this animation. And what a time to come into. So yeah, Defeat of Thieves here. We're talking about, this is the Alexandria. You missed my whole philosophical lecture. But, yeah, currently they're just, they're just dabbing on Thebes right now.
Thus stood Alexander, the champion of all Greek civilization, as he turned his gaze east in early 334 BC. Most doubted his vision. The Macedonian treasury was empty because Alexander had magnanimously ended taxation in Greece. Most Greek cities...
What a lad. We hate taxes on this show. Speaking of morality, is there anything the majority of people see as okay you consider immoral? And something people all try defending as moral? Like something everyone says is wrong, but there is, and isn't anything wrong about it. I would say the one that I see as most accepted these days is the idea that, well, I would say that the overriding moral problem of this day is just, to be summed up in a word, degeneracy. There's a lot of behavior which is self-destructive and accepted on the basis that it doesn't hurt other people, or that adults should be able to do whatever they like, even if it is, you know, well, when you say that, yeah, and the places that accept that, you can see almost seem to have a, well, they're unclean. They almost seem to be places full of misery or even death in worst cases. And so it's not true. And I think there's I don't like the trend of society that society will never intervene to our society will only intervene if you're really messing up and a threat to it, but it will never intervene to help you before then, and it will never intervene if you are a wondrous or exceptional individual in society. I think that if somebody is a great contributor to society, society should intervene. Like, imagine if you were, say, an awesome, let's say you were an awesome purveyor of some good. You made it the best out of anybody, and you had a lot of clients and whatever. And then the U.S. government just comes to you and it's like, all right, we want you to make this. In fact, we're gonna pay you to make it a bunch to just make it for us for a long while. They rarely do that in war. And most of our government contracts are very nepotistic, I know that. But it's very rare that you'll be recruited like that. And similarly, but of course, I as much as people think like, you know, like it's a, it would say be a bad thing if a king were to come to you and say, all right, you're getting hired as, you know, to be part of this court or whatever. Well, actually, it could be a really bad thing for you if that court was full of intrigue and deception. A lot of times, like, I wouldn't be too opposed if I wasn't given a choice in the matter, is all I'll say on it. So I think the way I disagree with society's morality is I believe that society should be intervening on you a lot more, and not just when you are a threat to society. I think it should try to stop you from becoming a threat to society. I think it should intervene to help you become an exceptional person, or to help you become an even more exceptional person through opportunities to grow. But I'm one who really goes with the flow, and I know I am totally in the exception with all this.
States were nonetheless looking for any opportunity to revolt, and the Persian Empire was as rich as it was massive and powerful. But Olympias then told Alexander the truth. The night he was conceived, Olympias was possessed by Zeus himself in the form of a lightning bolt. Alexander was thus not just a man, he was a god. His loyal old friend Antipater behind as regent, Alexander took 50,000 men across the Hellespont in a Panhellenic crusade. His objective, you may ask? To civilize the entire world. He would never return. Landing near Troy, Alexander leapt from his ship, thrusting his spear deep into the sand, proclaiming that he accepted Asia as his gift from the gods. Inside the city, Alexander confiscated many weapons left over from the Trojan War, giving them to his best men for divine protection, Chief Kestus among them. Finally, Alexander paid respects to the tomb of his direct ancestor Achilles and begged forgiveness from the grave of the last great Trojan king Priam. Alexander then marched along the coast seeking the enemy. As he liberated Greek cities, Alexander ensured his soldiers greeted the civilians as brothers, preventing any bloodshed or looting. As the local Persian satraps witnessed their oppressed subjects happily embrace the righteous Macedonian banner, they called a council of war to decide what new way to siege this time. In this meeting, various Persian governors squabbled over semantic bullshit. The only thing they could really agree on was that they had to stop Alexander lest they lose all their shekels. However,
It's funny how universally throughout history, like Persian society is like very much to be considered like a bureaucratic like shit fest.
there was actually a man in the room who had at least 2 brain cells to rub together. He was also the only man in the room who wasn't a Persian. The corrupted Memnon of Rhodes argued that they should adopt a scorched earth strategy, as there was absolutely zero effing chance the
Memnon Gorillion grind set, only civilian casualties.
But in a moment truly indicative of all human history, shekels spoke louder than reason. Thus, the Persian horde formed up across the Granicus River one evening.
They were formed up in the traditional Achaemenid battle formation, which had conquered most of the known world. Infantry consisted of a row of Sparabara shield bearers, which formed a shield wall protecting many rows of archers. As Persian arrows blotted out the sky, any attacking enemies would be slaughtered, while the elite Persian cavalry charged and destroyed their opposing flanks. This accomplished, the Sparbar could then charge forwards while the archers changed weapons to fight as normal infantry. The results were often devastating, and Alexander was well aware of this threat. Alexander had a difficult decision to make, and all the men assembled awaited the king's move.
You ready for an awesome moment?
As Alexander approached, Parmenion, his best general, cautioned that he should wait until the morning before drawing battle. The 2 armies gazed across at one another.
Seeing this scene, guess which song is gonna
Out
play?
of nowhere, Alexander surged forward at the front of his companion cavalry. He moved with such ferocity
Yeah!
that the Frenchmen couldn't hit him, obliterating the confused enemy and cleaving a path through their lines. The Persian elite swarmed to face Alexander, hoping to kill him and end the war in a single blow. Alongside him was Parmenion's son Philotas, a brave yet self-absorbed virgin commander.
As Alexander and the companions tried to break through and envelop the Persian lines, the Macedonian phalanx moved forward to pin down the Persian center and opposite flank. Many good men fell, but the Macedonian advance was unstoppable. The enemy's discipline rapidly deteriorated.
Alexander killed so many enemies that his lance broke from overuse. Grabbing another lance from a companion, Alexander leapt back into the fight, killing the son-in-law of Darius with a lance through his face. At this moment, another noble struck Alexander on the head with such force that his helmet split. But all this had done was expose Alexander's holy locks, the glory of which burned the mortal man alive. Finally, a 3rd noble snuck behind Alexander, about to deliver a killing blow before Cletos the Black appeared out of nowhere and cut the noble's arm off in a single strike. Witnessing the unstoppable God King slaughter the best of Persian
I will definitely say that.
the remainder of the Persian army fled.
Guns.
Alexander wasn't
Well, okay.
interested in pursuing
Guns
Persian.
didn't ruin
Instead,
the
he
battles
surrounded some
initially.
20,000
You'll find
mercenaries who had betrayed
you'll find a lot of formations that feature guns and pikes, especially with the early muskets, and there were certainly artistic guns, cannons. The earliest cannons, the arquebus. I'm getting shit confused. Arquebus was a lot later than cannons, but sure, cannons could tear through a lot of formations, but at the same time, cannons were a very simple an early form of artillery, and could be, if you could evade them, if you could sneak up on it, you could still fight a pretty just war. So there was strategic warfare for a long time, even during the time of guns. Guns were late medieval ages, early Renaissance, and yet we, of course, still had much of the mercenary fighting. Uh, Beyond what when it really began to kill. Well, two things that killed warfare. One is a change in the way that armies were composed. It was Prussia that was one of the first states to have a standing army, and they invented the modern system of military discipline. Foucault talks a lot about this in his studies of discipline, but they believed that a soldier could be made, not born. Before that, when you would probably have armed mercenaries, some with pikes, some with guns, or a mixture of the two. Actually, a lot of them would have a pistol rapier combination was very effective. You shoot your pistol, you drop it, you use your rapier, stab them from a distance. And though this did kill armor and shields, so it was just the pure skill of killing the other person before they killed you, and you're probably wearing light armor or no armor at all because bullets. But where that really died away is first in the composition of the modern military, where Prussia has a lot of people, a huge military industry, and they're arming them with guns. And the idea is not that these people will be incredibly capable of fighting with guns. It's that they can die in large numbers and still kill a lot of the enemy with guns. So that's where eventually line battles will evolve out of this. You raise your musket at the others, and boom, and they boom you, and you just keep going in waves and dying. And bonjour, one shotty. Welcome. We're currently watching something about Alexander the Great before I start Lobotomy Corporation. So that's the first killer. The other killer was everything in World War One. I mean, war became just after when that happened, war became pure attrition, at least on the infantry side. I will say with World War II, it did move back to a much more strategic war because of tanks and planes and other things where you had asynchronous battlefields that all came together to compose a whole. And so you had a lot of strategies going off, but we'll never even get that again because of nuclear bombs. But in World War One, of course, you have the incredibly sad fact of people charging to gain inches out of muddy and horrid trenches where they're dying of disease as much as they are from injury. It basically made war a traumatizing and brutal and humiliating and just ultimately there's no dignity in it. It's where people began to trade war medals for cigarettes. So yeah, World War One, funny enough, is actually PTSD, because you don't see PTSD a lot during the time of mercenaries. And any time before in ancient war, there were records which we have dug up which talk about it. But for the most part, these guys carrying spears and shields, few of them will have PTSD. People even up to the line battles, and line battles that takes a lot of discipline. So even then, you're not going to have very much PTSD. What I think is really behind PTSD is uncertainty. And that's why when World War One came around, we see a lot of more... And similarly, this is what is vindicated by the Vietnam War. There were PTSD cases from World War Two, but it was a lot less because it was a more strategic war. And what I'm getting at here is that I think that PTSD comes from the uncertainty of the experience. If you're sitting in a trench constantly getting bombed, waiting to die, randomly, confusingly, constantly worrying, that's going to cause you more lifelong stress complications than, okay, this is my do or die moment, this is our strategy, we must hold, And if you're not holding, you run, of course, but We don't really get to hear much from the losers. At least if the winners were doing a good job. So, but I'll do some squats. Alrighty, squats for Alexander. One. Yeah, yeah. The environment, betrayal, surprise attacks, hell, traps, I think, were one of the worst things. I mean, imagine if you're driving in a car line and you see the car in front of you explode because it crosses a tripwire where there were some rigged grenades. And you just, like, in a moment, in a way no one could predict, you have no certainty of survival. You just see, boom, a bunch of people who could have been glorious soldiers gone in a moment. That's something that's scary. It's I would say it is like it's scary on an existential level even. You know, there's the fear of death and then there's the fear of death in vain. But all right, we have a minute left of this, so let's just get we'll watch this, and of course, I forces.
Paid their countrymen for Persian gold, imagining that surely Alexander would simply pay them to fight for him. They surrendered without a fight, but Alexander had different ideas. The traitors were utterly massacred. Alexander had proven his point.
This channel is look up Maltheus on YouTube with but they have some other awesome history videos. Though that's probably because Alexander the Great may be the greatest Chad in all of history. I mean, look, Augustus Caesar cried at the feet of the statue of Alexander because he realized he would never be as great, and Napoleon sat in a room themed after Egypt in his exile at Elba because he was stopped at Egypt while trying to recreate the conquests of Alexander, and so that moment, that that where he could not measure up to his heroes, forever haunted him for the rest of his life. And of course, you can go through the to the VOD, but I have my own experiences with Alexander. Now there's too much of a crowd. I wouldn't be able to say them. Hadrian is pretty based. I find all of the five good emperors pretty based, but but Hadrian is especially based. So, uh, hmm. Overly sarcastic productions, I have mixed feelings about because when you bring it up, here's the thing with I love the art is great, and it is definitely like Rose of Versailles Vichy stuff. With and so the myths, especially the ones that focus on love, I think they do an awesome job at. However, other t- how other times when it isn't emotionally centric, they can do really bad. Yeah, see, I look up Iliad, and the first thing recommended to me is the overly sarcastic productions rendition of the Iliad. So let's watch this and tell if we can actually get the meaningful content of this myth. Is this becoming an impromptu history
The Iliad
stream?
is one monster of a book. It's more than 600 pages long, and the crazy part was it used to be passed down through oral tradition, meaning it was someone's job to memorize the damn thing and regurgitate it into the willing ears of whoever was.
This is not even very surprising. They're still all oral tradition with just as much length even today.
listening. On top of that, if I had to guess how many named characters were in it, I'd put the number somewhere between 200 and too many. Luckily for us, though, there's only a few characters we actually need to care about. On the Trojan side, those are Hector, Paris, and Helen. And on the Greek side, we've got Achilles, Patroclus, Odysseus, Agamemnon, boo, Menelaus, Diomedes, Ajax the Greater, and Ajax the Lesser, along with a few others. Now, back in the day, Troy was called Ilias, which is why the book is called the Iliad. Translated literally, it'd be called Troy's Story.
You got a friend in me.
Yeah.
And Troy is awful. Also, this is very loud, so I'll turn it down a bit.
So our story begins 9 years into the Trojan War, when Agamemnon makes the dumbest decision of his life and pisses off Achilles, the most powerful warrior in his entire army. Basically, Agamemnon had taken this girl Chryseis prisoner, and her father, a priest of Apollo, came to try and get her back. He offered Agamemnon untold riches or whatever, which Agamemnon turned down on the principle of being an asshole. So predictably enough, this powerful and desperate priest of Apollo prayed to the god in question, who gladly started raining down plagues upon the Greek army. Agamemnon is somehow surprised that pissing off this super powerful deity could go so badly for him, but still refuses to return the girl until Achilles starts verbally slapping him around, to the point that Athena has to physically come down and stop.
Firstly, I think this, and it's very strange that she admits this, but they missed a really important part of the myth at the beginning, which is it doesn't start here. First, we have the meeting of the gods. It's, I believe, Hera, Athena, and Aphrodite, and yeah, they bring up the prince of Troy, and not Paris. He is the younger brother, but a different one. I might be getting confused on that, because the goddess of discord and strife, Eris, throws a golden apple into the party of the gods, and all of them, being very, very heightened expressions of humanity, try to vie for it because it should be theirs, ambitious creatures. And so Hera argues it's hers by dominion. Athena argues that she's the best for it, and Aphrodite of course argues it suits her the most. Then they bring up the prince, and they all try to convince him. Hera with material gifts, Athena with intellectual and mental gifts, and Aphrodite with the most beautiful woman in the world. And of course, desire wins out, and so ultimately that brings two. I think that would have been a pretty awesome scene, as well as the recruitment of Achilles, because at the core, the Iliad is a story about rejecting. It's a story about Achilles grappling with his own inevitable destiny. One he is very aware of, because prophecies tell he will. Aphrodite uses golden apples a lot. I know she gave someone 3. I remember that myth. I don't remember the contents of it. Did that one involve constellations too? But anyways, back to this. So Achilles is aware of the prophecy that if he goes into battle, he will die, and so there's all these attempts to hide Achilles, including dressing up Achilles as a girl, which supposedly he is very convincing at. And it's only someone like telling on him that allows them to find him. So take that as you will. But as even though this is very early on in the myth, it shows that even though the Greek army has basically conscripted Achilles, they're still they raid a village, and he seduces and takes 2 girls. And then Agamemnon's like, no, sorry, those girls are mine, because I'm the lead of the Greek army. And so it shows that they're very wanton. And even though they basically had taken Achilles to die, and he knows he'll die, and they know he's an awesome, awesome warrior that will turn the tide in the war, they don't want to. They won't give him the respect that he deserves, and so that again is is something I think starting here is fine, but No, it's not fine. It takes a real oversight of a lot of stuff that have happened before this. Uh, all right, that myth. Let's read it. A dude wanted to marry a really buff girl, but she would only marry someone who could beat her in a race. So Aphrodite made magic golden apples that temporarily make women just have to pick them up. So he used them to make her stop, so he could win. That reminds me of it's funny because I've seen that story. Like, yeah, it's okay. It's the myth of Atalanta, and I recognize her name from Fate, but I'm not too familiar with the actual mythological version. Though I know that story too much of like of like basically the girl is super awesome, so the guy has to do some trickery to get the girl, and I love that trope. Uh, but very based of Aphrodite to help a man get his tomboy GF. I, good goddess.
Stop him from straight up murdering his commanding officer. By the way, you may have noticed that there seem to be an awful lot of gods in this story. No, you ain't seen nothing yet. So Agamemnon finally agrees to return the girl to her.
Those gods are important. Humans are at the whim of the universe, and like with many existential myths, which Greek myths are very existential. Hence why Camus' book on absurdism and existentialism is titled "The Myth of Sisyphus," because what is a more life that makes you question its meaning than a man who is destined to push a boulder up a hill for all eternity for his sins? Uh, Yeah, we stand tomboy Jeffs. Who doesn't want a wife who can just bench press you and fold anyone who would try to hurt you? Just watch out. She might make you take her last name too. Not that that's a bad thing.
Father, but there's one condition. Achilles will, in exchange, have to give Agamemnon his chosen lady toy, a gorgeous lass named Briseis. Achilles does the
Sisyphus.
smart thing and gives her up. Then he does the not smart thing and refuses to fight. He curls up into a sulky blanket burrito in his tent and refuses to come out for anything. Now, Achilles is by far the most powerful Greek warrior among them, later myths even painting him as invincible. So this is a pretty hefty loss for the Greek forces. Achilles then proceeds to make things even worse.
You missed out on Achilles' bit about how he doesn't want to die, and so that's why he sends. I think she'll mention it, but she might mention it. But he sends out Patroclus in his armor so that the Greek army will still have the morale. But that ends up killing Patroclus, his greatest friend. And I don't think that a connection has been established too far enough. But they do have very good interactions. There's so basically Achilles, he's not against the Greek army winning. He's against participation in something which he sees no glory in, because he does not see the people capable of respecting him. Though he does care enough for the individual soldiers enough to try to boost morale by sending out Patroclus.
For them by praying to his mom, a minor goddess named Thetis, to get Zeus to help the Trojans. That's right. He's so pissed at Agamemnon that he's willing to make them lose the war out of spite. Of course, since I also hate Agamemnon,
he gets over this and sends out Patroclus, but he has to be talked out of it, of course.
So, Zeus, as we all know, likes nothing better than screwing with mortals, so he's all for this plan. He sends a dream to Agamemnon urging him to attack Troy full force and promising him victory. So Agamemnon's like, great idea! Nothing bad has ever come from me listening to the gods. And then Hector hears a similar message from Zeus and immediately marshals his forces to attack. Book 3 is a list. It's just a list. The person rattling off the list is Helen, who punctuates her description.
Many people think that cultures with writing automatically must have superior stories, but Book 3 is by far the oldest book of the Iliad, and it shows that in actuality, early writing before it's funny that the oldest and greatest stories are the ones that were oral traditions written down, but or among those times you don't see many news stories through the complete written medium, because firstly, oration I think lends to better storytelling. You have to think about how to captivate the audience and how to create something which is archetypal enough that it can be passed down. You won't see the kind of tricks and redirects and subversions. Oh, I hate that word, subversive. Media that we have today, where it is something very much based on the screenplay the script, you know, the written word. But when humans created writing at first, it was still lower than the oral tradition, and what it was good for is writing out lists of crops and ships and soldiers and dogs and people and their family and who knows what else, stuff that you need to keep track of for a complex society that's not necessarily a that doesn't necessarily lend to better storytelling. Yeah, speaking of societies without writing, have you heard of Dionysus? He was made part of a group of gods before the Greeks and has story remade in three different takes. As with many pagan gods, a lot of them have their roots in an older pagan tradition. And this is because pagan gods are archetypal aspects. They represent something more than just themselves. And so you introduce one pagan god to another pagan culture, and they say, "Ooh, what is well, that's a name for this because they see great similarities because we find in nature things like Mother Earth and Father Sky and the tempestuous oceans and the majestic birds and the wise and slow turtles and the mischievous but immortal snakes, things like these. Uh, and so these become foundations of animism and then paganism when those are further abstracted. As for actual societies about writing and keeping their myths, again, myths are very archetypal. Though the stage, it's the structure doesn't change. The actors might, the settings might, the times, the place, the specific order of events, but ultimately, it's really about the through line, the essence of it. So let's look at a myth that is very recurrent across cultures. The war in heaven. There's there's a ruling body of deities, and other deities oppose them and overthrow them. Or a group of deities meets specific challenge from a group of deities that through that is tempered and thus begins a new age as their perspectives change. And that bridges us from, and I think this war in heaven, this age of gods, it effectively transitions from when gods were walking the earth and making things and all the big things were happening to an age of humans almost always. God sees Lucifer's rebellion and says and favors people, even though he's favoring people before, but one third of all angels are cast out. Or the Titans are defeated, and the gods of men walk the earth. It's things like so this is an archetypal story, and it's the core, the essence, which all you really need. You can interchange it, you can even interchange the specific positions of the sides, the but it always has its core. Did you mention the gods all get a little bit non-consensual? They keep their gooses and their togas, and I mean that in the most literal way. Also, wait, is that Teru Teru? Yes, it is. Forma del gato. I'm praying for rain up here. It's been a very hot week. But if you're not in the know, I highly recommend. My friend Teru Teru does wonderful readings of visual novels and literature, short stories too. Uh, uh, and well, he's going to be reading a Nekopara Catboy's Paradise very soon. So sometime this week if you can get it working. So do go and check him out. He also has much more serious content, but as with Cyclonials or Siconia or I like his comfy content. I like his serious exploratory content. But there's something very special about sharing for the first time, going through an absolutely bonkers visual novel with him. And also, Is Tero online? Uh, let me just check. Okay, he's offline. Good, good. I get to retain my viewers. Cat boys. uh, Make sure to wipe that blood off your shirt. What?
Description of the Greeks with a lot of self-loathing commentary. But wait, this book actually has some action. Shock, I know. Menelaus, Helen's real husband,
Wait, he isn't here? Tero might be in chat. I don't know. I haven't seen him chatting yet. Is there a way to see viewers on a channel? I don't stream with a viewer list or anything like that, so I don't know. But if you mean it in the more, actually, no, I shouldn't be discussing. But Tero is a friend of mine, and ah. Yeah, Tero isn't currently. I'm just praying for rain. And also, I'm very proud of. I made this little edit, so I'm kind of proud of it. Uh, Here, let me just blow it up for sizing. Yeah, he is a cool decoration. He is a perfect mascot character. I'll say that much. Tero Magical Girl Squad. Yes, yes. Also, I saw him in Callie's window. That's one of the things that made me think about putting him up on screen like this. Yeah, but Tero blessing all the wonderful ladies and baddies of the past few months with magical girl wonderful fun times. And was back to the Iliad.
challenges Paris, Helen's current husband, to a duel. Paris is all for this plan, but there's just one problem. Paris is a total wimp. Menelaus kicks his ass, but before he can kill him and solve the war for good, Aphrodite decides to intervene and whisk Paris off the battlefield and off to Helen's chambers. Helen's like, "God damn it, Aphrodite, what do you want?" And Aphrodite's like, "Now kiss!" Side note. That interaction pretty much summarizes the entire dynamic between Paris, Helen, and Aphrodite. The story's a little more complicated than this, but basically, Aphrodite promised Paris the hand of the most beautiful woman in the world in exchange for a golden apple. Specifically, the golden apple of discord crafted by Ares, goddess of discord, who was pissed after not getting invited to a wedding. The other two contenders
Now she's gonna mention this.
would have better things to do. He accepted, and Aphrodite held up her end of the bargain by kidnapping Helen from her comfortable life as Menelaus' wife and delivering her to Paris, although some versions involve Paris.
Though honestly, you should have spent a lot more time on that scene rather than doing a complete book-by-book summary. To be fair, this is one of the earlier episodes, so... But it's... Like, there's other times, even more recently, like the H.P. Lovecraft one, where I was like, alright, your summary of Dead Air misses the point of the story. It's about... it's not about evil AC, it's about how relying on new experimental technology that might fail on you can be a very horrifying condition. Okay, The Color Out of Space is not about unnatural colors, it's about the signs of something slowly... story by H.P. Lovecraft. One of his earlier ones before he got really heavy into the mythos and was just doing like more general horror writing. And another thing from her was like, she's like, ah yes, The Color Out of Space, evil spooky colors that are not on the spectrum, and it's like, that's not really what it's about. It's about a sign of not a new, completely unique color. It's not like this is like some new thing between pink and blue, pink and green, or something like that. Something not on the visible spectrum. It specifically was described as bands with an almost illusory effect. It's like okay, actually should give summaries of these stories then. Okay. So the summary of Dead Air is there's a doctor, Dr. Minaz, living in this hotel where the narrator is working. And he has his room constantly blowing AC because AC was this new technology. So it's like an ice chamber in there. Well, one day the AC fails, and he like becomes desperate. He fills his tub with ice and all that stuff, and eventually there's this horrid spell that comes from his room. So they go in and they find that he's written in his own gunk this message telling them, including the narrator, because he recognizes from an old conversation. This old conversation they talked about like, oh, what if medicine had advanced that people could live forever, and the doctor says, yeah, we figured out immortality, but we can't stop the decay of the body. So as soon as this ice chamber basically broke, he rapidly deteriorated in this almost horrific cascade of events, which the horror of the story is not evil AC, or it's about an experimental technology you're trying to rely upon that could fail you and lead to your death, even if you are smart enough to conquer death entirely, to become a mortal being. You could be sabotaged by one of these things. As for The Color Out of Space, I will say she certainly did give vivid descriptions of Lovecraft Bloodshot. So I too, when I first saw that, became interested in Lovecraft. However, upon reading the stories, I found her categorizations of them somewhat lacking. So there are some, like, as I said, when she's doing a romance or a very character-driven story, awesome. Other times it can be very hit or miss. And as for The Color Out of Space, an asteroid strikes a farm and begins to disappear, but some scientists looking at it find these unnatural bands of strange colors inside of it. And as this meteor melts away into nothing, the doctor was immortal, but his body still aged, and through whatever means of immortality he got, though it was counteracted with this massive AC system. And this AC, the mechanisms on it broke. And we're not talking about, modern AC, where you could probably replace the thing very easily, or it's like a fuse blows out or whatever. No, we're talking about like the analog, like a huge cooling system with, liquid coolant. And so this mechanism fries and breaks, and it's like it's less like having a air purifier that's broken and more like, or a radiator that's broken, and more like having your fridge break down and you can't replace it anytime soon, and you're like, will I be able to survive long enough? It's that kind of story. But yeah, HP doesn't like new stuff. He was very wary about how the pursuit of knowledge at all costs could be very detrimental to someone, as well as detrimental to society as a whole. The big famous quote that's always used from supernatural horror in literature is, it's blessed that man cannot comprehend all of reality, that he lives on this tiny island of ignorance, when if exposed to the light and the true nature of the universe, it would send him back into a new dark age. Yeah, he was stuck in his tub, slowly decaying as the room heats up. But as for Lovecraft, that essay is tells you what he thought he was going for with his writing, which is that at the time horror fiction was stale. It was using the same number of tropes and monsters over and over again. It essentially was still folk horror. One of the most innovative horror novels was Frankenstein, and that had come out long, long before his time. And I had invented, of course, a new monster for the new modern age. H.P. Lovecraft was in the same position. He was to create a horror and new monster for a modern age. Frankenstein by Mary Shelley, the horror of it is that it is science at all costs. Victor has done it. He has brought back the dead. He is playing God, but ultimately, in something very evocative of industrial times, he is a horrible father to this creature. He is not a compassionate and caring God. In fact, he looks on his creation at first with horror, not when it wakes up, because it reaches out towards him in the same way a baby would. And Frankenstein's monster is not unintelligent nor ugly. In fact, it is beautiful and incredibly intelligent. It teaches itself the English language from a copy of Paradise Lost and other books it finds on a farm. And of course, it relates to Paradise Lost, but don't we all? So, yeah, basically, if we're thinking about it in terms of what she was, why it really stuck around in the time, it's that he creates Frankenstein's monster with his knowledge. It is his baby, his entrepreneurial baby, and yet he cannot care for it. He is a horrible father. He advances society with great technologies, uh, as society was advancing at the times, but people were suffering in great numbers. It wasn't being the good steward. Slums were popping up in the city, and so in the same way, Victor, this ultimate intelligent entrepreneurial man who's a prodigy, a child prodigy, who surpasses everybody around him, is a horrible father to that which he creates. And that was evocative of the horror of the time. As for Lovecraft's time, well, Lovecraft was writing in the 20s, so it was before the Great Depression, after World War One, before World War Two. Uh, but but he was writing during the 1920s, and what I find about the 1920s is a very artificial time where it almost seems humanity was constantly seduced by various forces playing at them. I'll swallow talking about this. Get the blood flowing to your brain. All right, so 3, 4, 5. 1920s saw the rise of many political groups in the US, Weimar Germany, France, and England. So notable ones are fascism, the return of the return of the Ku Klux Klan, as well as major business interests too. The stock market was a massive effect on society. There's a great scene in The Great Gatsby where Gatsby is no, not Gatsby. Man, why am I so bad with names? But anyways, of course, the main character, the Great Gatsby, not Gatsby, moves to New York and becomes a stockbroker. And the offices are acting as fast and are more chaotic than a modern stock exchange, even though they're manually calling up each other to determine stock prices, on phones basically, landline phones. AFKing in the stream so I can redeem 1,000 squats at once and break your legs. Go for it. I have no limit on these. Uh-oh. 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 No. Okay, well that's in the future sometime. Let's get back to talking. No more mental energy spent on this. All right. So I see it as a time when there were a lot of strange forces at work, and ones that seemed to be captivating people a lot. There was great spectacle, is how I'd put it. Uh, there was great spectacle, as I would put it. You have the Roaring Twenties. It seems like everybody's swept up in everything, and with that, the cultish fanaticism toward things which we cannot comprehend that was popular in Lovecraft's writing, I think is very evocative of the day and time he wrote. Plus, it was coming off the heels of World War One, so you have this absurd reality too, a reality without a higher power to comfort us, where the horror is not unholy undead vampires or werewolves, or even the ungodly scientific abominations of Lovecraft. The horror is that we could be in a universe that doesn't care about it very much, and that if it is caring about us, is doing so in the way that greater beings do to ants, where they're like practically having fun watching little critters dance on their fingertips. And that's the basis of his cosmology. But what's really interesting is why Lovecraft is still popular as of now. And to that, I often look to his forebears too, because Lovecraft had forebears, mostly Arthur Machen. Uh, yeah, Arthur Machen, and I want to get this name right. Okay. Yeah, Robert W. Chambers, who wrote The King in Yellow. Basically a Lovecraftian deity before a Lovecraftian deity. And if you've read The King in Yellow, The King in Yellow is basically about a mimetic poison. Uh, a it's a play it's a play that talks about a civilization that swallows up other civilizations, and how the emergence of this into society has basically led to this cult of death. It's very evocative of the Mask of the uh, Red Death, and so with this, I think I think the reason why Lovecraft is evocative now is because we still see these same things. We live in a society of amazing spectacle where is he the king who drank poison, become immune, but gets raided and tries to commit unalive by poison but couldn't and was tortured? No. The king in yellow, I don't think is a king at all. There's a line. It does have lines from the play at the start of each chapter, and one of the ones right before one of my favorite stories, The Mask, is this line where yeah, Casilda is at a party and they ask, "Oh, stranger, please take off your mask," like it's a masquerade. And the stranger says, "I wear no mask." And horrified, "No mask? No mask?" It's like, so it's like the king in yellow is some monster. It's some monstrous thing beyond human, basically. Uh, but but our times are saturated with forces beyond us we can't understand. And so, what is Cthulhu but, again, the stock market, social media, uh, the technological progress of society? It seems we like to assure ourselves that these things serve us, that these are things which were made by human hands, of course, and should serve people and are understood by people. But on the other hand, it seems like we often serve them. We give them we devote massive amounts of our attention to these. Uh, when these things come into conflict with human interests, you'll often say people say, but what of the economy? What of global hegemony of international relations, of treaties, of trade, of uh, and what of my and what of social media? What of the general health? What if the general health? Oh, that's one that gets you a lot, because oftentimes the metrics which these are used to represent things is like quality of life supposedly has gone up a bunch, but well, certainly there's a lot more conveniences. You can get a lot more cheap plastic nonsense, but does that make a healthier life? Does that make a more fulfilled life? We will live in some of the times with the more Lovecraft wrote about the madness of knowing and of I want to turn off my Discord notifications. Whoops, whoops, whoops. Shit. Okay. Hold on. I'm gonna switch to another scene. Hold on one moment. what is the sound? Is it from this tab of Discord? I don't know. It says notifications are turned off here. I don't know. No desktop notification. There we go. Yeah, but anyways, back to the watch party. Uh, L'autre fleur is not French. Uh, that was mine. I was hearing it in my headphones. I closed some tabs which had Discord. They were muted though, so I don't know why that sounds. But I turned off all notifications on the other Discord. Uh, but we have these. But it seems like rather than walking the dogs are powerful, incomprehensible, multi-headed creatures that are walking us. Uh, Actually, while on the subject of Lovecraft, that might be a good place to transition into Lobotomy Corporation. But I'll continue this conversation because I love to talk about the ages of horror writing. Concurrently popular with Lovecraft was Poe, and Poe is a very older form of horror, but he was unique in making it very human focused. It's all very believable things. The Telltale Heart is very believable. Uh, it tells the story. It's basically the idea that like we think of humans as functional, rational creatures again, but you'd be surprised. Well, you wouldn't be surprised if you've been on the internet this long how actually weird and just strange people can be. Stephen King, who took a lot of inspiration from Lovecraft, but ultimately made his stories more understandable, taps into the horror of the 50s and 60s and uh, a horror of infiltration, but also one which in a time of mass media was the knowledge of the terrible things people did and in the small places where it wasn't known about before. We have stories like The Shining is about people cut off from the rest of the world in the demonic hotel driving them crazy. Now, I'm not talking about the movie version, the book version here, but it's ultimately one which is again like Poe, very grounded in reality. Though I find the one that's the magnum opus of Stephen King to be It, because while while The Shining features some themes of abuse, It is all about the cycle of abuse in one town, a monster that's not acknowledged by the people, but that ultimately lurks among the populace and preys on the vulnerable. Cujo is another story where, though there's this introduction about a serial killer dying who says he'll make his revenge in one form or another, ultimately this dog grows crazy with rabies. It's it's such an odd and mundane horror. A big dog is certainly threatening, but it's not some crazy but it's not some crazy odd entirely foreign foreign thing. It's certainly no werewolf. It's a big dog. But what it's saying with Cujo is that violence lingers and haunts places. That though we think things die and are resolved, they don't. And they can be stains. And this was the time where people were beginning to dredge up horrible histories that were not acknowledged before. Uh, one 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 and that actually takes me back to The Shining, because The Shining is all about a place tainted by the terrible things that have happened inside of it. This murder, though it's a simple murder where we can say maybe he was just imagining it all, is one in a line of many. The caretaker before who killed his daughters, or the fact that it's built on this Native American burial ground. And the movie is really good at rabies, though it's rabies in the specific context of the story, the warping and corrupting factor in almost all Stephen King stories is abuse and violence. It lingers in areas. People who it's a recurring thing. It happens again and again over time. Uh, and so it is, and so it's not exactly zombie horror. It's not about losing yourself to something entirely foreign. It really is more about corruption, as you said. The of being warped by something evil, just evil in general, is at the heart. And Stephen King's The Shining, particularly the movie version, is the most. He didn't like the movie because he said the movie feels like a movie meant to hurt people, but that's what makes it so good. It's it's a strange and disorienting. It's a strange and disorienting experience. But one thing that really stuck with me was the setting, because firstly, it evokes cyclicality. This hotel is a place which feels old and timeless and like they've been trapped here, and it's a maze. And one thing at the start of the movie, we see Jack, the dad, looking over the hedges where he will eventually freeze to death. And then there's of course the ending shot where he's in the photo of all the people of the past, and what it's saying is that it's always been here. This malevolent violence has always been here. But then there's also the corruption factor. The hotel makes him go crazy. It made the caretaker go crazy. In fact, the hotel seems to corrupt and feed and eat on all the terrible things that happen within it. A lot of people were thinking, like, in my class, when we were talking about it, we're thinking, like, isn't the revenge of, say, hurt native people against the hotel, of the genocide of native people? It's a burial ground where terrible things happen, and now a hotel's been built over it. But the hotel is adorned with all these Indian rugs. And we don't see, say, vengeful spirits emerge to attack them at the end. No, the spirits are the spirits of the recently deceased. Those from the hotel times, the caretaker. Those are the ghosts still in the hotel. What what I felt about the hotel is it's like a malevolent. Those ghosts that are still there are like the carrion of the bodies it's still eating. It's still feeding on those experiences, but it's completely eaten and assimilated the first violence committed on it, the genocide. Now those are just the carpets on its walls. It's with its like strange labyrinthian geometry where the hotel feels very much like a liminal space. It's always too open, too spacious, like a giant cage. The halls are always looping in on each other. It really feels. Oh, and there's also places where it'll be really zoomed out on a character, much like you're not actually watching them, but like something is watching them from far away. Not to mention the heartbeat sound, that's constantly pervasive throughout the whole place. You'll see it in many scenes, but it's a living, breathing creature of just pure malice and violence, fueled by and it'll instigate those things so it can feed on that. But it's like it, but yeah. So Stephen King's horror is really about the taint of violence, which through mass media, people were becoming more aware of in the 50s. It's not the quiet suburban town that everyone thought. That dream can hide, I should say, can hide an underlying horror which is terrible, as is the case of it. And so Stephen King was the predominant one. Moving into modern times, a lot of the modern horror writers uh, take after Lovecraft again because of incomprehensible things, but especially ones published on the internet are very Lovecraft inspired. Uh, the hotel feels alive. There's a lot of scenes where there's no one, but there's a viewpoint that shouldn't be there. The hotel seems to the hotel seems to consume like it feels like a body. That's the thing. You hear these heartbeat sounds from far away. You see these viewpoints from far away inside the hotel. And like the hotel hallways, it's almost like you're traveling through something's body. And it's really clear in the final scene when they're trying to escape from it. And all these things keep popping up within the hotel, as well as the bloody elevator. I mean, like, what is that? But like it tells you like all this blood is its body. You know, it's like it does feel like a living place, and I think that's intentional. And yeah, there is an underlying current that, as One Shotty says, that this violence might have already been present. In the casting for the film, they chose actors which did not look the best, and Jack Nicholson's expressions, he exaggerated those because they did so many takes on some scenes that he basically was losing it. Yeah, like they like took it like they said like, do a smile, and then they took the take where he'd smiled so much that his smile was like a parody of a smile. And so this dysfunctional family comes into the hotel, and that tragedy is exacerbated. Uh it becomes it becomes worse, more exaggerated, and ultimately goes from just abusive to murderous. But there is a bit about how Jack hit Danny. And there's another scene where there's a heartbeat in the background. There's no other music except for like these like horrifying drones and choir, and Danny's just sitting on Jack's lap in what should be a touching scene, but there's like a 10-second delay in their speaking, and he's like goes to Danny's. He's like, "So Danny, Daddy won't hurt you, right? He won't hurt you." And then he's like, "Yeah, yeah." And it's so uncomfortably eerie. But I when I watched The Shine the first time around, I didn't really get it. I was expecting, some big bombastic scare fest, but it's a really subtle horror that gets under the skin. Uh, but and now on to moving on to modern horror. With modern horror, I'm specifically talking about internet horror, age of the internet horror. So we're moving into creepy pasta and stuff. But one thing that internet horror excelled at was, firstly, you could have an updating stream of events which tells someone in real time, and that adds a level of believability. And that's why I think that creepy pasta wiki and other things were like not the best for encouraging what they were hoping for. Ted the Caver, Ben Drowned, these stories were posted onto message boards, uh, with like, okay, here's something weird happening, and it slowly gets worse and worse, and eventually, you stop hearing from the person on the other side, and that's a horror in its own right. The idea that someone could disappear, but what they've left in writing sticks with us, and something you also witnessed in real time and couldn't help. And we and that sticks with like there was live blogging was all that popular. Yeah, Marble Hornets, Tribe 12, these video series have played on this super super effectively. Though I will say the ones that stuck around for too long, like Tribes 12, suffered as a result of that. I think Everyman Hybrid took way too many hiatuses, but it did eventually wrap up, though early Everyman Hybrid is really good. And Marble Hornets is a blast if you need something to binge watch through a whole day. Oh man, if that isn't like a film passion project that I showed to my dad and he just loved it in every regards. Yeah, you could make it feel really real. No longer is the notes from a dead sailor washed up in a bottle, Agatha Christie style. Now you're witnessing this in real time, and of course, at the same time, this technology was pervasive through society. Live blogging, even early live streaming, live police chases, all that fun stuff. Uh, you became a spectator to a horror which you are now cognizant of, but you could not change. that I think was an important element of even written ones like Ted the Cave or Ben Drowned or whatever. Ben Drowned is very interesting in that one of the things underlined in the story, and I oh man, I want to go back and read the archive threads for it if they're still around, because they're like when you get to the end of the story, you realize, uh-oh, he might have infected all of us with a evil sentient computer virus. Uh, like that was a very internet horror too, of something that messes with your games, and it was one that basically inspired all video game creepypasta. Uh, Now that's cool when something is using a digital medium to communicate with you, but it's so alien. It's like it's like when it's like when alien communication in movies. Like sometimes they'll have it through like really cryptic messages on a TV or whatever, or a number station. Number stations are very cool. X-Files. Uh, it's like aliens can't communicate with us in our home tongue. So those early video game creepypastas and media creepypastas were like, what if aliens contacted us through video games in ways that were terrifying to us because we could not understand them? Uh, and that's an internet horror, modern technology horror too. Uh, but one creepypasta genre which I feel was doomed from the start was Lost Episodes, because it plays into one of the worst modern sensibilities. Uh, yeah, there was the 70 Broad was a series about a killer, and it was a lot of people were convinced that it was real, and like the guy like eventually like was like, oh man, you guys are dumb, like please for the love of God, because he had like put a stop to it. I don't know how it ended though, but but yeah, where was I? I need to close Lobotomy Corporation because the music in the background is getting to me. Uh, so you have so another one genre which is doomed from the start is Lost Episodes, and the reason I say that is because it plays in one of the worst modern sensibilities, which is tearing down things from your childhood because you want to feel more like an adult. I People who are like, but man, Pokemon is about cockfighting. I have little respect for. Its contrarianness and the desire to present things in the worst light possible in order to make yourself more superior, and then people started taking it unironically, and now we have people going like, I get uncomfortable watching my favorite sitcom because I realize all the terrible stuff in it. It's like, you're watching Always Sunny in Philadelphia. I don't know what to say if you thought they weren't terrible people from the beginning, man. but tangent aside, so like evil episode of my favorite cartoon plays into the worst like consumer sensibilities of trying to age up your media. And I don't think the effect is to be scary. Ooh, this is interesting. What happened to what happened to 70 Broad? It blew up in his face and he got kicked out of. He was in school? Wow. The original end was real. The main character dude was his brother pretending he was his dead brother and was in an insane asylum all along the series. And the name of the series was the street name of the asylum. Uh, well, props to him. He created a really cool amateur film series. And it kind of sucks that it interfered with his life like that. But because I know the Marble Hornets guys were like recent college grads as well. And imagine if they had lost, lost life stuff because of what they were doing. Uh, so, but oh yeah, there's British gun laws. Why you got a license for that? Why you got a license for that? Yeah, dude suffered for his art. Yeah, that sucks. And I will say it can suck when a piece of art, especially in these modern times, becomes something so powerful it overwhelms the life of the creator, uh, because of fans or haters or whatever. And well, yeah, people need to learn to separate art from artist. A lot of people talk about, can I separate an art from its artist if they don't like the artist for whatever reason. But a lot of people, in contrary, will go to great lengths to speculate on the life of an artist, it uh, if they like their art, or if they're invested in their art, or hate on an artist because of their art. And I don't really like that. I feel, I mean, yeah, it should be self-explanatory, but we need to be able to express that which is in our minds, and push forward push forward art mediums, explore that which humans can give form to. And if we make artists constantly suffer for that, and some of it, of course, is the cost of the job. Like, if you I will say, if you're going into Hollywood, a lot of times you're going to be signing yourself up for stuff you might not want. I mean, Hollywood is a pretty tainted place. Whenever I go there, it certainly feels that way. But to be a major film director, that's where you have to go. So, so you have to make sacrifice. But those who are making, like artists who get doxxed, and then people give them hate because is it my model that's frozen? Do 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 do. I'm just talking, not like just the tracking. Like if I'm sitting back in my seat, it's not gonna. Okay, okay. Yeah. Let me put up a pillow so it's more comfortable while we chat. Uh, yeah, it can really suck, and it's something that's really come about in the time of the internet, because you could totally sell whatever odd experimental stuff you like as records or whatever in the olden times, and have it very disconnected from your life. But now you can still do that, but you have the chance to get doxxed, and that can suck. Uh, and whether it's good or bad, if people hate your art or like your art, you can be scared and driven off from it. And we've lost a lot of great art because people have pushed the boundaries too far. Stalkers and the like, even. But enough on that. Let's get back to modern horror. So that's one component of creepypasta. What was mentioned is vintage horror, and what I find behind vintage horror, as well as old retro horror, is worries about, it's it's now that we live in such a age of great technology and abundance. It's what could be in the inverse of that. The And especially when you have a weaker technological medium, that means a necessary loss of information. A lot of this VHS horror stuff, which started with Slenderman, like Slenderman's horror is, he's a monster for the modern age. He's a monster that can't be caught by electronics, and or when he does, it's very distorted, and it leaves you with great questions. It challenges our notion of perfect information, of being able to know all. Same thing with VHS or super pixelated or whatever horror. It's like this doesn't have the power to show you what it needs to, what could be truly scary, and that allows your imagination to run wild. Your imagination is the greatest device for conceiving things, ever. More than text on a page, more than images, more than movies, whatever. Uh, but where creepypasta eventually had its fall was being derivative. And I know a lot of people like to go after, like, oh, Jeff the Killer, and like edgy shit like that. And of course, that's low tree track. That doesn't affect things. What really I think it went bad is specifically when every creepy pasta started to be titled some clickbait title on No Sleep that gave away the story. And old creepy pasta were really good in that the titles of them were not were things that allowed you to be lulled in by security. Ted the Caver, NES Godzilla. And actually, NES Godzilla is my favorite creepypasta of all time. Because it's such a surreal, artistic, avant-garde thing. It's like these were like stuff that was published on a blog or site, and then gets scary. Ben Drowned too. Ben Drowned is those arc words. It's strange, but all we really know is that there's something wrong with this game at first. It's Ben. Those were good titles for creepypasta. Something like something like I received a phone message to play the left right game is not a good title for a creepypasta. You've given people the expectation of horror. Trying to remember if there's any creepypasta that gave me a nightmare as a kid. Oh, yes, yes. I because and this was an old era of YouTube, but it'll definitely bring you back to your childhood. Remember when Some Ordinary Gamers, Moodhar's channel, was like recommended everywhere on Let's Plays? Like, he got super, super lucky with the algorithm. Yeah, when you clicked on one of those as a child, and yeah, I actually got very scared by Sonic.exe. Not the game, not with the footage, when it was just in story form, because well, specifically because I had all, and I know I'll just say this, it's a poorly written story. That everyone agrees on in consensus. But what really got me is I had all these old DVDs and even older VHS. And so it was, and at the same time, I had also lost a computer up at that point from downloading scary stuff. Well, not downloading scary stuff, but downloading viral stuff. Because I was a kid with no restrictions on my computer. Uh, yeah, like horror stories are very scary because of course the imagination. When you fill in the blanks, it allows your mind to put in stuff that's a lot more impactful for you. But also, I think horror, like, it's the obfuscation of information, and this is why, of course, like horror movies that are dark and aren't all together, like the Blair Witch Project, have become so influential. You know, you're like your final destination with Hollywood budget isn't gonna scare me as much as something which I can plausibly think to be like, which I firstly, there's plausible deniability because it's, you know, like an amateur thing like the Blair Witch Project. So you're wondering, is it or is it not? But also it has the horror of you can barely see what's going on most of the time, and so you really don't know. Like it's an open mystery, and having things neat and tied up is not good if you want someone's to brain to spin and get worried. Oh yeah, Higurashi. Okay, I haven't read the Higurashi visual novel, but Higurashi Dean I love. Hence why, of course, I have so many Human Echo inspired stuff on my because I love Human Echo. I read Human Echo after the Higurashi Dean anime, but why do I but why but I enjoy Dean Higurashi so much because it's uncanny. And Higurashi Go, I enjoyed Higurashi Go for the sake of laughing in the A threads with everybody else as each new episode came out, and we slowly realized that the schizoid theory of actually Sadako is masterminded the whole thing, invented by a long time JP by a long time like JP actual schizo. Higurashi Go is the new anime. Uh, and it's now in its second season, Higurashi Sotsu, which I should yeah. So there are so many scenes in Higurashi which are the cringe of not stupid cringe, but this is unpleasant and feels wrong. To like my brain is seeing patterns that are wrong, and the direction of this makes it feel so wrong. The faces, yeah, the fingernail seems gets everybody. That's an awesomely directed scene, which isn't the goriest scene in the show by far, but it's one that, well, firstly you hear it in their voices, you see it in their like really messed up expressions, and the whole atmosphere of the place is just so wrong. This family making this girl do this to herself. Ah, yeah. So that's the scene that really sickens people. But yeah, it's the psychology of the scene. Uh, and early Higurashi was really good psychological horror. I love the first arc, Onikakushi, uh, because Keiichi is going like you don't know that Keiichi is going insane at the time. And I had a friend who was like, "What if Keiichi is going insane at this?" And I just like poker face because we were watching it together, a rerun, because I was like, I do not want to ruin this reveal for him at the end of the show that he is hallucinating, but it's just it's this masterful thing of like, what if everybody in this small town that's all wary of each other and has these strange esoteric practices turns against you in your turns against you, and like the people you thought you could trust have histories far beyond you, uh that have histories far beyond you, and your life is in threat. Like it was a terrifying arc, especially to me because, well, I had actually at that Higurashi anime was an anime which I felt really hard all the way through because shortly before watching it, I had a number of friends betray me in a drama that I never wanted to be part of, and that, well, they weren't that great of people to begin with to do that, of course, but it still sucked, to lose them to something I felt like, why are you doing this, But yeah, that broke me for a while, and the person I am now is a lot of a result of that. Uh, though the friends I still have that of course stuck by me and didn't dismay me over and didn't break with me over you know the dumbest, most inane, you know thing of the moment drama, which I never want to be part of from the begin with. And God, I don't like talking about this, but yeah, that broke me. It led to the person I am today is very much a result of like that, and I'm so glad for the friends that stuck by me. But seeing the horror of things falling apart in Higurashi and betrayal, but also the message at the end of the story that to really trust your friends, that that not to assume the worst of intentions, not to use them to that basically what came about in the fourth arc, where you do see someone descend into madness and they're pulled out of it. It really spoke with me. uh but that's enough of that. Higurashi his first arc was a master in psychological storytelling. Uh, Lobotomy Corporation is what I was supposed to be playing today, but I kind of got wrapped up in all this because I watched a bit about I watched a bit about Alexander the Great, and now we're in a massive conversation where I'm rambling to myself and telling and all that. But yeah, but yeah, Higurashi basically came helped me come to terms with those horrible high school life experiences. And in hindsight, I'm pretty thankful that that happened then, uh, and not now, because I would hate to learn all those lessons now. You know, when I have a lot more riding like college and stuff. Uh, uh, Thank you for saying I have a lot of things to say, and don't worry. And don't worry. I it's streaming is an ephemeral art form. It's how things go and pan out, and you won't know it. It's like theater. The show must go on. So I've been really enjoying this conversation, and so don't feel bad about it at all. But if I was doing Lobotomy Corp, it'd just be different, not better. Uh, but so Higurashi really spoke with me, and in the same way, yeah, I really like the overall message of like RO7 stories are the most romantic. They're the most like romantic tales of like the best like soul brothership friendship, that to get to the conclusion of them, you have to power through tons of murder and betrayal and everything falling apart. But it's so worth it. Like, and Human Echo is the greatest romance I have ever read, disguised as a murder mystery. Uh, and uh, and so please go and pick it up on Steam. Uh, you'll sink hundreds of hours into it, and you will not regret a moment of your time spent with it. So, because again, it has a truly beautiful message. And I want to pick up Seconia too. There's an embargo right now, which stops people from reading past a certain point. But Teru read a lot into the first arc of Seconia to up to an embargo point. Human Echo is a very long piece of literature, but it's a lot better than Homestuck. I'll say that much. it's it definitely takes longer to read than a normal thing because it's a visual novel, but I've lost too many late nights to just watching it and just going, oh, oh, that's awesome, because, well, firstly, there's the murder mystery part of it. That's a fun thing, and I highly encourage you that when you get to the end of episodes 1 through 4, the question arcs, before you move into the answer arcs, uh, I really encourage you to make a list of every murder that's happened and try to figure out, and also all the red text and blue texts, and try to figure out who done it. And because it's possible, it really is possible. uh though if you're unsure, read through the fifth arc, and you should have it figured out by the end of that as well. But the ending of the fifth arc of Human Echo is one of the most beautiful story moments I have ever read. And like, you can tell it uses the visual novel. Like, people make fun of RO7's art, because of course, like, his character drawing is this really weird style. It's not top of the line anime shit, but it has soul. So play it with the original sprites and original backgrounds, and when you play with the original sprites and original backgrounds, because in that you see basically he took really simple things, simple effects, simple transitions, simple character portraits, and like holy hell, the action scene, the action scene, but also a very emotionally impactful scene, full of inner character monologue, and uh, as characters literally battle it out for their version of reality to be true. At the end of episode 5 is this it's stunning, and it is like an awesome action scene, unironically in a visual novel. Like, sorry, Fate has nothing on this shit. Uh, not to mention, Human Echo is always great at one-upping itself with every chapter one-ups the chapter before it with something new, but that makes perfect sense because everything fits tonally or contextually. It's a very metafictional thing, and so when something feels right for a character, they can go on and do that in like the way a shonen protagonist would, but even less than that, because it's about figuring out the mystery, and figuring out the mysteries of other people too, so that you can truly learn to appreciate them. And it's through understanding and wisdom that the characters grow, and with that they actually, of course, experience the power growth in the action scenes. But that makes it for like it basically solves the shonen problem where people are like, where'd they get that from? No, if you reach the truth of love, you can pull that golden sword of truth. That's the kind of story that Human Echo is. But I'm also a lover of sappy romantic stories where everything feels right. So if you're like more logically brained, not as girl brained as I am, uh, and you're gonna ask about like the specific, like try to figure out everything from a logical perspective. It's not gonna work the best. You will definitely those skills will definitely serve you in the mystery section, but you can figure out the mystery a lot faster by by understanding the characters, and that's something I really liked. It's totally a traditional mystery story where you have where which follows all of Knox's commandments, and it follows all of Knox's commandments, and all the red truths are true. It doesn't hide anything from you except that which you should be able to figure out yourself. But it really rewards you for paying attention to the characters, and that's something I liked. Your brain is literally a fucking potato with an aux cord sticking out of it. You can still enjoy the story. It has something for everybody. But well, with that discussion, Yannick, I think it's actually. I think now we've covered like all the bases. I'm gonna hop into Lobotomy Corporation. All right. Face the fear, build the future. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, Have I read Saya no Uta? I have not read Saya no Uta. Mostly because at the time when I originally wanted to buy it, I'm not sure I would be able to get it past my parents, but like yeah, there are some scenes in Saya no Uta where if they opened my door, it'd be bad news for me. But uh, but so yeah, that so I didn't get to play it at the time. But I'll certainly think like it is a story I'll certainly think about picking up in the future. I in the same vein as it, I've heard that Tsubihebe is really messed up, but also people have said that Tsubihebe is a really philosophically valuable story. But I also think they might be memeing and trying to trick people into reading their Riona fuckfest. But yeah, I really don't know when people are. No, not Tsukihime, not Tsukihime. Subahebe. Wonderful every day. Tsukihime is fine. I want to pick it up on Steam when it comes out. And I know Nasu's right. Nasu is the Chuni King, so I know what I'm getting into with him. Fate fun too. Uh, but yeah, I want to see what the hype is with Arcweed too. Oh man, I hope I want Type Moon to localize more of their stuff. I would totally play Tsukihime on Switch. I would put like my sister's Switch Lite down here. Uh Boot up like Tsukihime and just like, do shit post and do like VTuber stuff like popped out at the screen to look. Uh yeah, I'm catching up to chat. Yeah, as for pronouns, I really don't care. To put it bluntly, if you're referring to the character is a girl, but I in real life am a guy, and that's. But yeah, like not to be too, because I know you're doing it, of course, in like good faith, but like I don't really understand it. Well, I understand it's a convenience thing, but I really don't like care too much which people actually use because I don't know the best way to put it is it feels like when asked to state pronouns it's like being asked to it must become a it feels reductive is the best way to put it, like yeah, but I'm not going for a trap thing, just straight Babanuku. uh it feels reductive in the way of like, well, it seems to override everything else, if that makes sense. Like if I was doing, say, a girl character on stage, I'd probably like well, for all intents and purposes, I'd be a girl for the duration I'd play. Same thing for a girl playing a boy actor. But it always feels like pronouns complicate that by laying down such a concrete description, and also feels like you're like, and I know also in the more general sense, it's like I'd never use them because I understand why people would use them, but I would never use them because it feels also like if an AI was crawling the internet, it would be able to understand me off of it. It's like a way to present. It's like a way to present yourself that rather than giving a description as to the actual nature of things, like I'm a guy who plays girls a lot. Uh, it becomes, this is how a automated corporate generated email would respond to you. Uh, so that's my thoughts. Sorry for that becoming such a big thing, but So continue on to day 19. When we get to day 20, we're gonna be on that day for a while. I'm gonna try to beat the midnight ordeal of that day, because I know there's boss fights in this game, and the first one is unlocked by Malkuth's boss fight is unlocked after we complete our challenges. Yeah, so like we gotta complete this mission to get this guy, and actually I don't know if it's her, but I know this guy. Tippereth is okay. Also, we need a we need a level 5 employee today. I have this clock tool in this room. So we got to figure out which one of these guys I want to boost up to level 5 to work with it. Also, we need to reorganize our departments going into this, I see. Yeah, because these guys aren't the most threatening of all the anomalies. But man, are we getting a bad hand right here. Will I be at Callie's birthday stream? Uh I'll definitely try to catch watching it. Is there like a are you meaning like in like the is there like a way that you come on and like hang out for a bit or something like that? I haven't I'm gonna catch up actually on that if that's the case. Yeah, July 20th, 9 p.m. CST. Yeah, I'll definitely be here. Uh yeah. I just thought of that because other people have done that, like for their endurance streams and special events. Uh, oh, don't worry about it. Oh, good thing I checked Twitter. Good luck. I don't have time to catch the stream, but I finished this ordeal with a couple deaths and then immediately memory repoed. That will keep your mission completion, but revives your employees if they die. That's very good to know. So I'll say actually we'll put McKenna is really good at working with the Ice Queen. So and you two can handle yourselves up there for most things. Actually, I remember why I did it this way. Uh, I did it because I wanted somebody who could handle the ordeals for each thing in each of the districts. So, and if we're gonna confront Midnight Ordeal, I actually have to think about that. So, okay, so as I understand, there's like different levels. So, Zayn means that something is not very threatening and it won't have disastrous consequences. Teth means some kind of disastrous consequence, like cursing, breaking out. He means that there is some kind of extra disastrous consequence, like, or that they're really powerful when they break out. They're basically danger tiers. Like, this guy's disastrous thing is that you send someone to work in with him too many times and they just die. The Snow Queen, if she doesn't like you, you have two chances. If she doesn't like you twice in a row, she kills the person. But, like, these Zaans will never break out and actually have positive bonuses. Yeah, except some of them will like actively try to break out. It's more like how much will they fuck things up? Not will they break out. How much will they fuck things up? Oh god, I can't even wait. So, hmm. I'm gonna put them over here and in those suits. So now we gotta go to our ego list. I'll let you know when we reach the pizza level. Yes, anomaly level pizza. I mean, there is a last episode. You'll see it. I'll actually start the day and restart so you can see it. Oh god, man, this lady isn't my nightmare. She has an insta kill attack from the front if she breaks out. She breaks out in one failed attempt to work with her. And I thought she'd be peaceful, you know? But look, let's send someone to doing some work. You go. Yeah, this one's too above my shit. Let's see. We can't even get to our basic information. A tier above, all right. And this guy isn't that bad at all. Well, unless the person he's working with kicks the bucket. Cryboy, yeah, he could be. You just need someone to work with him on a dedicated basis. Actually, why did I pull these guys? I wanted to create a balance, but actually these two can really hold this place down, in my opinion. So I just gotta put them all back in the right suits. I don't know why I was messing around so much. Uh, yeah, that's the best endurance for red damage we got right now. Oh, that is perfect for what I need. Oh, these are both such good weapons. I mean, such good egos. Uh, you know what? We'll get this for today. We'll try to get this for tomorrow. More work for a working manager. You know, while working out on one of my Alien Isolation streams, I didn't pause the game because I was in a hiding place, but I got done with it, and I saw the alien coming over, and I was like, oh, he's not gonna see me. Uh, you will be made a buff nun. But yeah, it's like, oh, he's not gonna see me. I'm in my hiding place, so I'm just like, oh, it must be the alien smelling our sweat from our fresh workout. And then I immediately hear the aliens like, uh, I found you roar, but just like, and I was like, huh? And it just, I look towards the alien. I see it looking right at me. It sprints, rips me from my hiding place, kills me, and I'm just like, whoa, 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 whoa. That was one of the dumbest things that's happened on me on stream. So yeah, Finn will work the child, and Mirabel will work the top two. Though we gotta upgrade you. I have everyone on Justice 2. We're gonna need a. And maybe. Wow, that's powerful. That might not be necessary for now, but... Oh, Gloomy Maid coming right up. Bonjour, bonjour. Another day, another dollar. That might be. I'm just concerned about upgrading all into my, well, and that'll bump her up to level 5. Oh man, how do you get a level 5 employee in this? How much? I'll just do justice upgrades. Alright, now she's level 5, she can use the rewind clock for when we need that at the ordeal. Okay, I think that's good. We'll begin our management. So, I want to see. Okay. I think instinct works best. But now that she is Pogger's resistance to red damage, let's see how this goes. Wow. She's doing pretty well. Whoa. We can actually deal with this fish lady. But why there's a negative 4% now, I don't know. I did it! Hurrah! So with that sign of good luck, we're going to set up rounds for today. What's her best work? Yeah. Of course. Upload. And this guy likes yeah, he likes insight work. This guy has I read his story record because I read his story record when I was making a meme around him because I heard that this guy's whole thing is like everybody falls in love with him. And it's very funny, so I want to read it to you. Alright, so this is Papode, a little puppy that likes instinct work. A super fluffy, ultra cute puppy with white fur like fresh snow. This abnormality is so cute that just taking a short little glance at it will make you feel so much better. It has the eyes of an angel and is the purest thing in the world. For the description of this creature have been omitted for brevity's sake. The rest of the sentences are essentially just saying it's so cute in various ways. This little abnormality couldn't be evil at all. The only thing you have to worry about is your heart aching if you look at it too long because it's just so cute. In fact, employees who enter this abnormalities containment unit tend to lose themselves a bit and often need to be forcibly removed from the unit by other employees. Caution needs to be taken as the assisting employees can also become captivated by its cuteness and become lost as well. Attempts to bring the abnormality out of its unit may occur from time to time, but this is not a concern as they are typically prevented by other employees. When too many employees want to work with this abnormality, a lottery will be held to decide who gets the privilege of doing so. Our employees tend to show symptoms of mental regression, with oddly toned speech, with a high pitch upon entering its containment unit, but this only seems to be a temporary problem. Many of our employees refer to this abnormality as the goodest boy in the world, Papode. However, its official designation is simply Papode. Please make sure you don't get confused. Every employee who enters its containment unit must upload a photo or video report of this abnormality. This is highly, extremely, uber important. Ensure nobody misses this step. A company of this size will always have a rumor or two floating around. I heard that you can hear someone's bones breaking if you walk the hallways at night. If you try and track down that sound, you'll find a Yeti who's eating one of our employees. However, we don't have an abnormality that looks anything like a Yeti. Excerpt of an audio record. John, you should be thankful, dude. And actually, I see desktop audio is turned up so you can hear the music a bit. Aw, it's bapping me with its paws. Is this an attack? It just wants you to feed him. Don't you know that it's a trend in our company to always carry a packet of dog food or two? Well, I really don't like animals. By the way, this puppy's a little beefy. Is this how dogs usually are? I guess this one played a lot of catch, huh? We used to play fetch with him pretty often, just to watch how cute he was running after the ball, though we stopped for some reason. Hey, did you see its face when I fed it? It was super creepy, I swear. It's just your imagination, man. He's always our little angel. Isn't that why Who's a Good Boy? Jeez, does this thing have some kind of power to mentally manipulate people? No idea what you're talking about, Jacob. Do you little buddy? Little kitty pie? Do you? Hey, wait for me, Papote boy. Hey, it's eating something. Aren't we supposed to be the first aren't we supposed to be the first people in its unit today? Aw, my little goody buddy good boy was just hungry. Man, he's just so cute. Look at what he's nomming on. What the hell is it chewing on? Shit, I knew it. That's Jim's finger, man. He went missing during the last patrol shift. Can't you see the nail? Remember him bragging about having a heart painted on his nails? I told you, dude, that thing's up to no good. I can't believe it. Who? This abnormality's the killer. I get that you're shocked, but I told you a bunch of times that there's no way a cute pet could be harmless in this place. Man, I'm finally glad you came to your senses. Who wouldn't feed him on time? Poor guy's been starving all night. It's so heartbreaking. Well, I think we're supposed to suppress it. How could you even suggest doing something so heartless to a cute little good boy like this? Just look at his eyes. How could a cute, innocent animal do anything wrong? Isn't that why you were a good little kitty boy? Dude, your little angel is gnawing on our colleague's finger. And that basically sums it up, except at the end of, following the evidence I've provided in this recording, I request that Jacob immediately be demoted for firing a tranquilizer at Papode. A terrible, evil animal abuser has no place working in our company. Our goodest boy in the world, Papode, has been traumatized by this incident. He'll only eat 5 kilograms of his favorite snack now, To help them cope with the coma, I suggest we request a new snack for Popote. Premium grade salmon rich with vitamin B. I'll be waiting with your reply. Oh, and make sure to attach pictures of Popote. Yeah, it is like the SCP Foundation. And Fleur is cute. Cute! Thank you. Aw, merci beaucoup. Yeah, F to that guy. But what do you mean? He was recruiting cute little Popote. Who has, you don't have the ELF, neither do you, so. Get in the chamber, Shinji. Did I really never unlock the managerial guidelines for this guy? Well, it's gonna trigger Dawn, but... Ooh, ooh. That's not good. Hey, where is, I wanna check this department. Where is... I need to do something where I can get up a list of people, because I want to see if it killed her. Okay, she's fine, just hurt. Alright, let's get to suppression time. Oh! Bon Bon, get out of there! Yeah. But I'm specifically gonna say, you? Or, sit. Please move there. Bon Bon! No! Aww. Finn, you don't get hurt as well, please. They're gonna gang up on him. Maribel, you go up there now. Oh, and now you go down there. And the other halls? Okay, they're handling it fine. Well, we lost a guy. Okay, we gotta send him home. Get you some heals for a minute. Except you move there. You move there. It's really just Finn that was getting ganked. Okay, where's the... Ah, there's always a straggler left behind. So... Well, I'm even ordering suppression. All of you, please move there. Alrighty. Well, that sucked. Oh, Andy was coming out of there, which makes it even worse. He really didn't have a chance. Okay, we gotta unlock the guidelines for this guy. I think it's insight, which is best with her. When I initially got this little kid, because I saw all the works were like the same, and they weren't providing the best results, I just did repression work on him over and over again. It's kind of messed up. Just like basically, all right, just beat the kid. Well, you can't win them all. We're not gonna get to the Dusk ordeal until tomorrow. You can't save them all, Shiro. You can't save them all. How did I feel when I lost a dear... Oh. How did I feel when I lost a dear friend? It was horrible beyond words. Why am I so heartless as to not shed a tear for my late friend, you may ask? Well, I could pretend to try if you insist, but it wouldn't be genuine. Will I be just as cold as this in the future as well? Perhaps. Please do me a salad. Angela somehow knows that I have the stuff. I assure you, it's just for counseling purposes. And Netshak, actually, I heard that Eugene's been forced into that counseling program. This is ridiculous. That guy's already got his hands full. Now he has to take her stupid counseling. Poor Eugene. What can an employee do against a Sephiroth's orders anyway? I doubt she really cares about us. She's just doing this to make herself feel superior. More work for us, I guess. Just ignore them, Han. They're always so negative. Could I have some of that Netshak? Oh, hey, manager. Congratulations on your success. Well, this is just for counseling, yeah. Why does everybody hate me? Why won't they appreciate my kindness? I thought I was the nicest Sephiroth who cared the most for the employees. Yeah, not gonna care about a clerk. One conversation was all it took. The other Sephiroth are so occupied with their own work, they don't even care about how their subordinates end up. The corporation treats them as if they're expendable resources. I'm different. I really do care about them. I'm not a cold-blooded machine like Yasad. I'm not haphazard like Malkuth. And I'm definitely not a it can't be helped person like Netshak. Just why? Hot seems to be getting lost in her own thoughts. Suppress 4 different anomalies. Alright. I'm not sure why I'd want to trigger breakouts at this point. Increase clerk stats? Or increase new age and higher stats? Yeah. I mean, we're gonna be hiring someone anyway, so... Alright, Rose. This is just so you can be survivable. Alright, what suit do we put you in? What suit did that guy have? Did we lose it when he died? Nope. Yes, we did. right? I think we have better suits than that already, but... Anyways, weapons. So... Rose getting the solitude. Oh, we get red's red damage too. Yeah, they were not having it. It's actually a really big liability. Some of them are, that's the most weak against anything I have here, except for, of course, Pale, but... It'd probably be better to slot them into these suits. Yeah, there's just a point difference on their resistances. Yeah, that's really good. And, Rose. Alright, now weaponry. Ting, 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 time for your workout! Seven, 8... This outclasses everything else by far. Oh, whoops. So, McKenna. Get that. Where are we gonna put? Yeah, I'm actually gonna do that and put you with that. So now we have someone in each department who's high level who can restore people back to sanity if shit goes bad. And Finn needs a weapon. We already have people with white guns. And white beat sticks. Yeah, that seems good to me. Ah, I don't have enough. Can I manufacture it on the fly? No. Should have been more focused on doing that with that guy. Cause Pale. Yeah, fast speed, medium range. Oh man, that's such a good weapon. Well, regardless, it's dusk time. Alright. So all that pit in your stomach, let's go. Rose might go insane from this. You can do it, Rose. I can't get a dusk day? I thought it starts today. I guess we'll go on to tomorrow. No, not to matter. I'm not touching the fucking notes. No. Stop it. Watch this thing break out. Oh, that's a bad kip lock counter for that. How do we raise it? Is it because he died last time? No, no. This guy didn't... The day just started. How did the kip lock counter like that? Oh my god. That is horrible. Cause look, that's gonna run out and it's gonna kill this guy probably. Okay, sigh of relief. It does? Then, get in there. Attachment work. Quick on this guy. So we learn when we do our deals, it's actually best to have... Actually, no. We want more of those boxes. I fucking hate this teddy bear. That should take us up to dawn. Now we're gonna wait for them to get out of work and... You all, please go. One defeated. Suppress. Huh? Oh, why'd that counter go down? And oh, when this guy breaks out, he lowers someone's counter. Damn. That's why they keep dying. And something else in the department, because it's done the Child of the Galaxy. Oh my. Oh. I mean, this thing's breaking out, so let's just see how this day goes. Could I get a recall on all departments? No, I didn't. I've been dedicating Finn to it for a while, but I guess I'm just not going to work with it at all on future. Okay. Okay, that's good. Mirabelle? Go and attack it from behind. That's nasty as hell. No clerk. Oh my, did they really? Don't go there, okay? No, 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 not that way. Please move right there. Jesus, man. How much health? She's immune to red damage and endures white. Great, alright. You all. And the teams I sent for? Get her, get her. And she's gonna warp out. Okay. But this is good. Her positioning is good. We can go down from... No! Why do you want to go that way? Oh, I hate the layout of this place. Peaceful music right now. Well, at least we know that black damage hurts her. I detest you a lot, fish lady. This day is ruined. We had it all going right. We're just not going to work with the child this time. And I think it was because that ordeal triggered something. Like, I think it lowers the counter if it runs for too long. Something like that. First round. Once again, we will neglect the child. Hmm. Alright, second round. Oh. That's worse. I don't get why it does that once it's done. Is Saddam Hussein somewhere in this underground base? Well, see, we haven't unlocked the lower levels yet, so I can only assume that he's down there. There's many good spots for him to hide, of course. Like, inside the teddy bear that keeps killing people that get too suspicious of it. Inside the tub full of blood. Wait a minute. Hold on. Is that Saddam Hussein all along? Maybe if you just squint a bit. I want to be able to easily reach the ordeal once it goes off. Wow. Okay. Alright, and okay, now we can order full suppression from all these guys. Okay, they got that guy. It's just this. Alright, good, good. Hmm. Work for energy. Smarter, not harder. Oh, all's good and a job well done. Oh. No. I know what this is. I'm not losing everybody again. I forgot about this. Please. Please. No. Wait, wait, wait. Why is there this guy down here? One of the robot guys. No. Oh, why is there... Okay. Oh. Damn it! I forgot about this. That's what you missed. No, I just lost them all. Well, some people escaped, but mostly because it dropped down here. But oh, I would have been safer if I sent them all to work. That's fucking ridiculous. And these two just got wiped out in an instant, and they're high value. Ah. Grant us love. Oh, great love for us. I remember to charge this up before we get to this stage. God, this really sucks. Oh. Oh, 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 oh. Yeah. Improvise, adapt, overcome. God, that makes me feel old. Okay. First round. What have I forced your hand to do? Huh? What do you mean? That's worrying me. Huh? I don't see anybody dead yet. How do you get the token? Wait, was that just a random effect? So we know this is hurt most by white. So. Huh. Yeah, I wish. Alright. That should get us up to this ordeal. It's very early in this game. I can still get that ability. But yeah, I yet to see how I've jobbed up this day. Though that does remind me to use the that does remind me to use this. Okay. Ordeal dominated. Got that. Let's let everybody heal up for a bit. This is... With the way this feels when you get a new anomaly and you have to figure out how it's gonna kill you, it feels like if you've ever played the card game Mao, which is pretty evocative by the name of Mao, of course, because it's named after Chairman Mao. That being a game of unspoken rules where Playing out of turn means serious consequence or death. You know, like giant monoliths falling from the ceiling. Oh boy. Alright, well. Wait, wrong one. Alright. Well, whoops. Let's hope this gets us up to our daily energy quota. Huh. Wait a minute. Wasn't there supposed to be... Did I mem repo? Did I mem repo? I'm not exactly sure. I just know that... Okay, no, the energy counter is the same, so I don't think I did. Okay, well, we gotta think smart about this. You're not gonna make it either way, so we'll leave that one. Mirabelle, could you go and do work with that? I'm a little worried about her success here. Alright, once this day is done, I'm just watching that counter very, very cautiously. Alright, what image should I put on the screen? Wow, even with that minus 4%, she's just a beast. Alright, we made it past today. Huh? Who died? Who died? Who is dead? Who is dead? Who is dead? And I kind of want to proceed. I don't know why someone's dead. Looks like it, I'm not sure why. Okay, we gotta add a new anomaly. But... Okay. Oh. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Oh. Alright, let's see this. New art. Oh, I love it. Here we go. Properties and whoop. Wait. I just need to refresh, I guess, to get the... I did add the link for this in. Copy that image link. Properties. Huh? Here, hold on. I can't get... I'm trying to get to display. I see. It's in some encoded format because it's sent through messages. Alright. So... Copy. I'll just save it and put it up. Okay. Behold, everybody. Wait a minute. Huh? An existing... Wait, why is it doing this? Do I have to edit transform? Oh, size seems to be too big. Yeah, I was trying to do it from a link, but let's lower this down. 800. 800. And also position. Seems like it won't, it's too big. 1 second, I'm trying to fix this. Okay, why won't it show that? Huh. Those seem to be really powerful for whatever reason. Here. OBS, please. Oh, thanks for shrinking it. I'll try this. There we go. New Lobotomy Corporation motto, guys. Here, I'll say. Ah. Behold and witness this greatness. Alright, we're opening up a new department. So, in line with our corporate model, what should we choose? The city remained a beautiful place where the emerald road sparkled bright as ever. Someone's persistent gaze can be felt from the keyhole inside the machine. She was so sad that she had to leave her dear friends behind, so she came up with a brilliant idea. I think we should go for only the most curious ones. Wait, why do we have to choose two? The more blood it has, the more beautiful it is. But nothing could compare to the music it makes when it eats a human. Let's do this one. For that Alice in Wonderland vibe. Do you believe that, occasionally, forgotten things could be more beautiful? That was something you once told me. Or, now I understand what you meant. You're showing it to me right now. Ah! Tippereth Twins 2 Anomalies. Good day, manager. We are in charge of the central control team. Will our department be opened up today? Welcome to CENTCOM with Tippereth and Tippereth. Oh, Rose died. I think she went nuts or something. Well, it's good only she died. I mastered the blade. Ooh. Oh, immune to red damage. Endures white, weak to black. Ouch. And she breaks that almost immediately. Ugh. Well, I'll certainly be looking forward to it. Ah, and it's wow. Well, it's really been wowing me. What's the most... I guess we don't really have that much going on this corner of the screen most of the time. Alright, so we should hire a new person for there. Yeah, we lose a lot of people in this department for whatever reason. Pop. Oh, That's pretty good. I mean, no, it is a little bit weak against red, but not as weak as the others. And it doesn't escape, so who cares? Not worth it. Centcom, Centcom, Centcom. Huh. What is my favorite food? Well, I love a good, hearty, meaty, and greasy steak. What about you, Fleur? Oh, sorry. Ah. Ah. J'aime le beefsteak au vin. Cook it up in wine, serve it with some lovely, delicate herbs on the side. Yeah, only the steak must only come from a cow that has been taught how to paint, and all that stuff. No, it's super fun when I get to ramble. I think it's a charm point of mine, so I should do it more often. Thank you for coming by, Foskun, and thank you for this. I really appreciate it. Have a nice night. Bonne nuit. Oh man, Friday's gonna be so confusing. And I have a little surprise too for Friday, but what's a good time, other Fleur? Stop calling me out, B. My time zone's Pacific Standard Time. Sounds good to me. Alright. It is then. And, well, we need someone on this team. I guess we don't need to do much with it right now, so... Wow, Mika no hair. Let's hire this absolute Chad into the department. Oh wow. Wow. It's a cool looking place. Oh yeah, don't look at this guy while working with it. That's the way, right? I know this from a friend where he's like, oh yeah, this one stumped the hell out of me. So, insight. Maribel, go do that. And who should we get to... I think that this is an instinct guy. But let's get... Yeah, let's get Gabriella. Alright. Oh, but man, is it a long journey down, it seems. We're gonna have to compose, like, strike teams in every department. Alright. Oh, we're actually going pretty well with these. And you? Ah. Low prudence is needed for this guy. Huh? Ah, nice. He's gone fucking nuts. Mika, I want you to survive, so please go up top. And everybody, can we get the full suppression club? Goodbye, good clerk. Oh, what is that? That's horrible. Oh, don't tell me he zombifies them. Wow, this guy's hardy as hell. Well, Yum Yum's dead. Day going well. Ouch. Okay. We're gonna be holding off on that ordeal for a bit because looks like these are some fun new additions to the facility. Okay. Reorganize our departments. Thankfully, we've built up a nice collection of level 4s in almost every department. Oh yeah, I did. So the Scarecrow was the Oz themed one, and the one about the Looking Glass was the I don't want to be seen one. So, All right. Bonne nuit, au revoir. I'm actually thinking about... Yeah, because I see it's pretty late. It's almost 12 o'clock. I might actually dip out the stream now, and we can try to confront this day next time. So I have a foggy head right now, sadly. So, Let's see who's online. You know what? Let's send another raid Odette's way. Well, not another. It's been a long time, but I remember Odette raiding me back in the day during a quite difficult endurance stream I was doing, and I was very thankful for all that extra motivation. Really gave me the strength to get back into it. So yeah, I think this is a good start. So have a nice night, everybody. Bonne nuit, au revoir, and see you next time. Maybe then we'll be able to confront this horrific ordeal as well as all these new anomalies. But it has certainly been quite the wild night, and I'm thankful for all of you sharing it with me. None raid. Alright. None raid, as always, and bye-bye.